Hello, YouTubers out there. This is Jerry Saravia at the movies. So I want to tell you a little story about Gene Hackman. I used to live in Santa Fe, New Mexico back in the 90s, the early 90s. And quite often in Santa Fe, you would come across certain celebrities here and there, depending on the type of circles that you were in, the type of social circles. So, like for example, my mother once dated a film editor, assistant film editor for the film In the Mood, which came out back in 1987. And I met him and we talked about Phil Alden Robinson, who directed that film, and Field of Dreams. So sometimes you come across certain people if you live in Santa Fe, which I did for a few years. um, so then I would see, I did see once Brian Dennehy, the late Brian Dennehy, who was just walking with a crowd of people. I mean, how can you mistake Brian Dennehy for anybody else? Uh, Ally McGraw I never saw. She was pretty much a staple of Santa Fe, but I never did see her anywhere. Uh, Oprah Winfrey used to live there, I think, at that time, and Shirley MacLaine, which I was unaware of at the time. I certainly would like to have talked to her, most definitely. So, but Gene Hackman, what happened was this. There was this theater I would go to quite frequently that would show older movies, films that are not well known, cult films, whatever. The place was the CCA, which is the Center for Contemporary Arts. And this was back in 92, and they showed a film which is one of the great films of the 90s. If you haven't seen it, One False Move, with one of the rare lead roles starring the late Bill Paxton. So, anyway, I was going with my mother to see that film. And before we approached the steps, I saw Gene Hackman. I mean, again, who can you mistake anyone else? But for Gene Hackman, there is nobody that really, I mean, I've never come across anybody that looks like Gene Hackman. So he was sitting there on the steps, and, he was, of course, balding and everything else, and kind of doing this to his hair. And certain people noticed him, but they stepped away. At that time, people really didn't gravitate towards the celebrities. It was understood in Santa Fe, perhaps an unwritten rule, that you didn't really bother them. You didn't ask for an autograph or all that stuff. You may come across them, and who knows? You may engage in a conversation, and. But anyway, but nobody bothered him. He was just sitting there. A lot of people were going into the theater. So then I sat down at the theater before the movie started, and he came in wearing a baseball cap, chewing gum, and he had some sort of a blue blazer, I think, and he had his hands in his pockets, walking in, and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, was with him. So they marched all the way to the back of the theater and sat down. When the movie played, you could tell when Gene Hackman reacted to something, he would laugh. That laugh was unmistakable. The Gene Hackman laugh, I just, I know it. I can't do it for you, but I know it. And it was just unmistakable. And so I watched the movie with Gene Hackman in the back, responding to the film occasionally. And that was it was really something. It was just fantastic to know that this man, who again, populated the movie screens for me and television throughout my whole life, and he started even way before I was born, which was in 1971. So it was really something to hear him. I knew it was him, and it was just incredible. So that's my story on Gene Hackman. It's not much, but at least it's one of the rare events I can think of where you're in a movie theater and somebody is sitting in the back who is a movie star. I mean, he was pretty much a movie star. There's no question in my mind about that. There's a similar story of another celebrity, which I'll tell you real quick. I was in Princeton, New Jersey. I used to live there. I'm not rich or anything. I just happen to live in these areas. Anyway, so I was watching the film Jane Eyre with Charlotte Gainsbourg, I believe, and William Hurt. And that version is all right, but I think I prefer the Orson Welles version from way back. But anyhow, seated in front of me, again, this was now 1996, I think. 96, yeah. I don't know if Sex and the City was on yet. I don't remember. It might have been, or maybe I don't think it got there yet. Because in front of me, a few rows in front, was Cynthia Nixon, who of course was in Sex and the City, but she had the long reddish hair. I think it was reddish blonde or something like that. And she looked back at me because she must have realized that, sometimes you could just tell when somebody's looking at you. And I said, "Is that Cynthia Nixon?" So that's one of those things. So I guess two celebrities in my lifetime managed to go to see a movie that I was seeing. A rare event. So anyway, that's my story. That's all I got to say about that. Rest in peace, Gene Hackman. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Lend me yours. Have you ever been in a movie theater where a celebrity just happened to be in there? Could be anybody. It doesn't have to be, a movie actor or somebody, and a big celebrity. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. I do review movies on occasion and talk about movie-related topics of all sorts. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you. And hit that notification bell for future uploads. And please hit like and subscribe. Very important. And that's all I got to say about this particular experience. And this is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.